Imagine it's 11:30 p.m. You're standing in your kitchen, the soft glow of the fridge light hitting your face. You know you should be sleeping, and you know that extra snack isn't what your body needs. Yet, as you take a bite, a voice in your head says, "It's been a long day. I deserve this." Or, "I'll start my health kick tomorrow." We've all been there, doing something we know isn't great for us while simultaneously talking ourselves into it. It's a strange, uncomfortable tug-of-war in our minds. Why is it so hard to just do what we know is right? Today, we're exploring the psychological friction that shapes our daily choices and the quiet battle happening inside our brains. That mental tug-of-war has a name: cognitive dissonance. It was first identified in the 1950s, but it's something humans have felt forever. Essentially, it's the discomfort we feel when our actions don't match our beliefs. Think of it like a glitch in your internal software. If you believe you are a healthy person, but you haven't exercised in weeks, your brain experiences a painful clash. We don't like feeling like a walking contradiction. It creates a genuine sense of psychological stress. To get rid of that stress, our brains have to do some quick gymnastics. We either have to change our behavior, which is hard, or change our justification, which is surprisingly easy. Why is it so much easier to change our thoughts than our habits? Because our brains are wired to seek comfort and conserve energy. Changing a habit requires physical and mental effort, but shifting a perspective, that happens in an instant. When we experience that clash, our brain looks for a way out. This is where justifications come in. We tell ourselves that the habit isn't that bad, or that we are the exception to the rule. We aren't trying to lie to others. We are trying to restore peace within ourselves. It's a survival mechanism for our self-esteem. We want to believe we are consistent, logical, and good, even when our actions suggest otherwise. Take Sarah, for example. Sarah is a project manager who deeply values family time and mental health. However, she finds herself checking emails at 9 p.m. every night and skipping her daughter's bedtime stories. This creates dissonance. Sarah knows she's neglecting her values, and it hurts. To stop the hurt, her brain creates a narrative. "I'm doing this for them so we can have a better future." Or, "This is just a temporary busy season." By framing her stress as a sacrifice, the discomfort fades. She isn't a bad parent in her mind anymore, she's a provider. We do this in almost every area of life, from our spending habits to the way we scroll on our phones for hours. While these justifications help us feel better in the moment, they come with a hidden cost. When we constantly justify habits we know are bad, we slowly lose trust in ourselves. There's a quiet part of your mind that knows the truth, even if the justifier is loud. Over time, this gap between who we are and who we want to be can lead to a sense of stuckness. We start to feel like we aren't in the driver's seat of our own lives. Research suggests that the more we practice these mental workarounds, the more they become our default setting. We aren't just making a one-time excuse. We are building a lifestyle of avoidance. The first step to changing this pattern is learning to recognize what dissonance actually feels like. It's usually not a loud alarm. It's a subtle ache or a brief flash of guilt. It's that split-second hesitation before you do something you know you'll regret. Often, we try to drown out that feeling with more of the habit, more scrolling, more eating, more procrastinating. But what if we sat with it instead? What if we acknowledged that the discomfort is actually a sign that our values are still alive? That ache is your internal compass trying to recalibrate. If you can catch the justification as it's happening, you've already won half the battle. So, how do we break the cycle? Start by naming the excuse. When you catch yourself saying, "It doesn't matter," or "just this once," stop and say it out loud. I'm telling myself this doesn't matter, so I don't have to feel guilty. Bringing the thought into the light takes away its power. It's much harder to believe a lie when you've labeled it as one. You don't have to be harsh with yourself. In fact, being curious is better than being judgmental. Ask yourself, what am I trying to protect myself from feeling right now? Usually, it's just a bit of temporary discomfort or boredom. Often, we justify bad habits because the alternative, the good habit, feels too massive to tackle. If you haven't worked out in months, the thought of an hour at the gym creates massive dissonance. Your brain says, "I'm too tired for that, I'll just stay on the couch." Try the 2-minute rule instead. Commit to the better choice for just 120 seconds. Put on your running shoes and walk to the end of the block. Wash just 2 dishes. By making the good action tiny, you lower the barrier of entry. You aren't fighting your brain anymore, you're just taking a micro step. This builds identity evidence that you are someone who takes action. We tend to act in ways that align with how we see ourselves. If you say, "I'm trying to quit smoking," you still identify as a smoker who is struggling. But if you say, "I'm not a person who smokes," the shift is profound. When you face a choice, ask, what would a person who values their health do right now? Or, what would a person who respects their time do? You aren't just changing a behavior, you're adopting a new identity. This reduces dissonance because your actions start to flow naturally from your new sense of self. It moves the conversation from "I can't" to "I don't." Think about the scroll hole. You sit down to check one thing on your phone, and 40 minutes later, you're still there. The dissonance hits when you realize you've wasted your evening. Your brain might say, "I need this to decompress." But are you actually decompressing, or are you just avoiding the effort of a real hobby? A real modern example is the revenge bedtime procrastination. We stay up late because we feel we didn't have control over our day. Recognizing this allows us to address the real problem. Maybe we need better boundaries at work, rather than just justifying a habit that leaves us exhausted every morning. One of the biggest reasons we stay stuck in dissonance is shame. When we feel like we've failed, we lean harder into justifications to protect our ego. But research shows that self-compassion is actually a much better motivator for change than self-criticism. If you slip up, acknowledge it without the drama. "I made a choice that didn't align with my goals. That's okay, I'm human. I'll make a different choice next time." By removing the shame, you remove the need for the brain to create elaborate excuses. You can look at your behavior clearly because you aren't afraid of what you'll see. At the end of the day, cognitive dissonance isn't a flaw. It's a feature of being human. It's our brain's way of trying to keep us feeling whole. But by understanding the why behind our justifications, we gain the power to choose a different path. We can close the gap between who we are and who we want to be, one small, honest choice at a time. Remember, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be aware. What is one small habit you've been justifying lately? And what's the real reason behind it? Let's talk about it in the comments. If this perspective helped you, please subscribe to Curious Pod for more thoughtful explorations of daily life. See you in the next one.